Signal is a phase 2 trial of a novel monoclonal antibody called VX-15 in patients who carry the gene mutation for Huntington's disease. It's a safety and tolerability trial primarily, but we'll also be looking at efficacy measures to see if VX-15 can either improve the symptoms or slow the progression of Huntington's disease. The primary eligibility requirement is that people have to have undergone genetic testing for Huntington's disease. They have to know that they carry the gene mutation that causes Huntington's disease. That's the first and foremost thing. Once people know that they have the gene mutation for Huntington's disease, there are two groups that will be eligible for this trial. One are people who have been diagnosed with Huntington's disease, have the signs and symptoms of Huntington's disease that have risen to the level that a Huntington's disease expert has said, you have Huntington's disease. In that population, we're looking for people in the early stages of the disease, people who have had it for a short period of time and are functioning at a high level. The second group of people are people who what we call prodromal. They have not yet been diagnosed with Huntington's disease. They've seen a Huntington's specialist who has said, I don't think you have enough signs and symptoms to say that you have Huntington's disease. In that group, we are looking for people who may have subtle signs that may or may not be signs of Huntington's disease, as determined by the doctor taking care of them and participating in this trial. That is what we would call late prodromal Huntington's disease, meaning people who have not been diagnosed with Huntington's disease and can't be diagnosed with Huntington's disease at the current moment, but may be showing subtle signs that may be signs of Huntington's disease. And that's kind of a judgment call that will be up to the investigators in the trial. A total of 84 patients will be enrolled. It's a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial. There are two cohorts. In cohort A, 36 patients will be randomized to drug or placebo and will be followed in this blinded fashion for 6 months. At 6 months, the people that had been randomized to placebo will be switched over to active drug for the next 6 months. So for the second 6 months of the trial, for cohort A, everybody will be on study drug. At 12 months, everybody finishes the trial. There's a 3-month safety visit, and that's the end of the trial for cohort A. In cohort B, which will start immediately after the last patient has been randomized into cohort A, 48 patients will be randomized to either drug or placebo and followed for 18 months in a double-blind, placebo-controlled fashion. The body's immune system makes antibodies usually to foreign antigens, things that represent a threat to the body, an infection, for example. But of course, the immune system can make antibodies to internal things. People can have autoimmune diseases, and they can naturally make antibodies to things that exist in the body. But we can also raise antibodies to pretty much anything. And monoclonal antibodies are a specific kind of antibody that are very, very specific for very, very specific targets. And so in this case, a monoclonal antibody has been made to a compound called semaphorin 4D. And this compound, semaphorin 4D, in the normal human brain, appears to be involved in promoting inflammation and in promoting neurodegeneration. So blocking it should improve both of those things. In Huntington's disease, we don't think of it normally as an immune or an inflammatory disease. It's a genetic disease. But there is very good evidence that inflammation is involved, and so that once the neurodegenerative process starts, there's inflammation that can cause breakdown in the blood-brain barrier and other types of damage to the brain that can hasten the progression of Huntington's disease. So blocking the inflammation by blocking semaphorin 4D could have very positive effects on the neurodegenerative process. In addition, there's evidence that semaphorin 4D has direct effects on neurodegeneration as well, and so blocking that should be helpful as well. So there's really kind of a dual action we're hoping that will result in improvement. The trial is being sponsored by a biotech company in Rochester, New York called Vaccinex. And they are working closely with the Huntington Study Group and the Center for Human Experimental Therapeutics at the University of Rochester, who is coordinating the trial. And this trial is being conducted at 20 centers that specialize in Huntington's disease from all over the United States.